I've said in the past, the 49ers have never been able to finish a quarterback plan, fully execute. Whatever the plan was, they've never finished one. First, it was Kirk Cousins. They didn't finish that because they got Jimmy Garoppolo. Then it was Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't finish that because they had to get rid of him. They flirted with Tom Brady, and then they bring in Trey Lance. They get Trey Lance. He barely plays. Now they got Brock Purdy. Whatever the plan has been, they have never been able to finish it. Right. So do you think that the reason is because they don't have a quarterback plan, that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have different quarterback plans?
To have a plan, to finish a plan, right, you have to have everyone all in with it. And if you have some not great results at first, everyone says, this is our plan, we're committed to it. But if you don't, if you have one guy saying, this is my plan, I'm overruling you, yet the other guy and his minions being, or his side being like, see, I told you, see, I told you, see, I told you, see, I told you, let's go with my plan. Let's go with my plan. And maybe that explains why the Niners keep throwing away draft picks without really finding out what they've got. It's not like Trey started 20 games and failed. They're throwing away the investment. Throwing it away. Because Brock was good for a minute and then got hurt. Like it's real. So let's go back. Let's just go all the way. Kyle hired John. A little irregular, right?
100%.
But John's the GM. John has control of the 53-man roster. He said that.
Yeah.
He also said that he defers to Kyle on quarterbacks, or essentially whenever Kyle wants to step in. So it's John's job, except for when Kyle steps in and says, no, I'm overruling you. That's a weird setup right there. Okay. And we've seen examples of, I think, Kyle stepping in and telling John, I need this player.
Joe Williams,
Trey Sermon, CJ Beathard, Trey Lance, 4 trade ups, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. And I think in each case, it was Kyle saying, I need this guy. And John saying, okay, well, this is the arrangement. I got to get him his guy. But at the same time, I'm against it. I don't want it. I want to be able to do my job. And I'm going to sort of find another plan on my own and work against you. I don't know for sure. But it just seems like if I'm not all in and I'm skeptical, then I'm going to sort of present alternatives along the way. Like, hey, Trey Sermon didn't work out. Fine. We got Jordan Mason, though. Can we get rid of Trey?
Or maybe it could be, hey, you want to do this? Okay. But in case that doesn't work out, I'm going to do this. We're going to get
this. So don't think about it as us throwing away the Trey Sermon investment after 50 career carries. We got Jordan Mason. Who cares? Just pretend we traded up for Jordan Mason. Okay, CJ Beathard didn't work out. Just pretend we traded up for Nick Mullins. Joe Williams didn't work out. Just pretend we traded up for Matt Breida. Okay, but you can't play that game with Trey Lance. You can't just pretend you traded 3 first-round picks for Brock Purdy. So what do? They hold on to Trey. They don't know what to do. But so there's a weird dynamic. Kyle gets to overrule John anytime. They go with Kyle's plan to start. Let's not look at Patrick Mahomes. Okay, let's just wait for Kirk Cousins. That's the plan. And let's trade up for CJ Beathard. That's the plan. They go with it. But they start 0-8. And, they're looking bad. Like Chip Kelly got fired after a year. Tom Sula got fired after a year. Don't test these Yorks. So Lynch steps in and trades for Jimmy. And it's documented Kyle was sort of against it and had to be talked in. So then they go with John's plan. They pivot to John's plan. Jimmy, try it for 3 years. I don't know who said no to
Jimmy. Remember, Jimmy couldn't get in the game. He only got in because Beathard got hurt.
Correct. Kyle didn't seem so eager about it, but he gets in, goes to Super Bowl, loses. Tom Brady calls him. Who says no to Tom? Was it John? Was it the guy who really loved Jimmy and thought Jimmy was the next Tom? Anyway, after 2020, Kyle's fed up. He trades for Trey. Now it's his plan again. I'm going up for Trey. Who's got his back? It seems like John's been overruled. He wants Jimmy to stick around. All of a sudden, you got 2 different plans at quarterback, and no one's really has Trey's back. Why? Because he's the next Trey Sermon. He's the next CJ Beathard. He's the next guy that Kyle picked to be here. And it's like, well, now, okay, he gets hurt and Purdy plays well. Lynch can go to him and say, look, man, that's everything you wanted Trey to be, right? A little mobile, young, cheap. Look,
cheaper.
I mean, what's the problem? And so now John's all in with Brock, and Kyle's like, this is happening again. I'm being tied to a quarterback who can't throw more than... It's happening again. Okay. Let's bring in Sam Darnold. So it's like constantly, that's the way I look at it. It's like, okay, my plan's better. No, my plan's better. No. None of your plans are any good. And if you don't stick to a plan, they're all going to fail. Stick to one plan. Agree on something. But maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm projecting.
It's interesting that I hadn't thought of the Darnold acquisition in that way. Like, all right, Brock.
Don't tie me to Brock. Don't tie me to Brock. I understand that Trey may not work out, but I got Darnold now.
We need another quarterback anyway. So I'll get this that I've always
stronger arm, better thrower, taller, can step up in the pocket. Like, yeah, whatever.
He sucks. Yeah. Matthew McHose says, having watched videos with Rob and he never says anything positive, balanced analysis is requested, not endless complaints and trashing of decisions. First of all, go back to last season. Okay. I said nothing but positive stuff about this team for 12 straight games. They won every week.
You don't have to apologize for your analysis. Matthew, thank you for your super chat. But if you want positive analysis, there are 800 YouTube channels, 40 local writers. I mean, come on, you can find that easily, man. So don't try to just go around the internet and change everyone to say the same stuff. You know you're here for a reason. Just enjoy it. Matthew.
If you want champagne and strawberries all the time,
you can find it.
In the wrong spot. But I have plenty of good stuff about the 49ers when they were kicking everybody's ass last year. All right. In fact, I got
a tweet today from someone saying, I want to see an all positive show from you. Okay. When they win the Super Bowl, I'll do that. No doubt. I got you.
Why? Like
when they win the Super Bowl, for sure. I got you.
That I don't understand that. And I want to get to this comment from Horrible watching on my Twitch page at Stats on Fire. Rob, who in the NFL do you think has finished a quarterback plan when they weren't like a top 10 quarterback? I feel like that's just indicative of subpar talent at quarterback since Cap. Here's the thing. The 49ers drafted a quarterback in the top 10. They took Trey Lance at 3. So
horrible. Tell me one team that spent 3 years worth of first round picks on a player and then threw away the investment after 4 starts and 2 injuries. He hasn't failed. He was 21. He was 22. His numbers were perfectly reasonable for any 21, 22-year-old. You're just going to pivot to someone else because you like Brock. Brock's that good, even though he got hurt too, that it'd be one thing if Trey failed. You'd be like, look, man, they gave him a shot. They got it wrong. He's a bust. It happens. You're lighting 3 first-round picks on fire and saying, we don't need them. We're so much better than the rest of the league. Like, yeah, you do. You need them, man. And you can't just throw away the picks without giving them a chance to show what they can do and increase their value. He's got no value right now because of what the Niners did, not because of what he did.
It's a weird, I cannot think of another situation in literally NFL history where the guy never plays. It's different if he plays and fails. To never open the package is always the weirdest thing, and I'll never understand it. Yet here we are, barring injury, barring another deviation from the plan. Lance is going to be on the bench. I mean,
what I think is interesting though is like we're all outraged because we're all invested. We've all invested so much time and thought into Trey Lance, and they invested so much capital. It's like you can't do this. Organizations can't do this in the NFL. You can't light these picks on fire, but they did the same thing with Trey Sermon. There was no outrage because it was like 3rd round picks, but they did the same thing with Trey Sermon. They traded up for him. He had 41 carries. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry. That's not great, but it's not awful. And they got rid of him. Like, you just threw those picks away. You brag so much about your comp picks and you throw them away. You literally light him on fire. Like Trey Sermon I didn't think he was that good, but you don't even know. He could end up being something and you just don't even know. So this is something they do all the time.
Didn't he also get cut from the Eagles? So maybe they were just right on Trey Sermon.
Maybe. But still, like you freaking lighting these comp picks on fire.
They're fast, man.
Light them on fire.
Fast. Terradome says, so what? We still have the best roster in football. What are we missing?
A Super Bowl victory. Oh my God. If they hadn't traded up for Trey Lance, they could have had Micah Parsons and like 2 other first round picks. Doesn't that matter to you? Don't you want a suit? Doesn't it kind of upset you that maybe that you would have had a ring right now if you had used these picks instead of lighting them on fire?
Aniket Herwoodkar says, it's not about good or bad stuff. The content is just the same everywhere. Kyle is bad. 49ers are a mess. Trey over Brock. Sheesh. No, Kyle's not bad. I love everything Kyle Shanahan does except for 2 things.
Yeah.
His
Rob
game
loves Kyle.
I don't like his game management at all. And he doesn't know how to handle the quarterback position. Everything else, I mean,
that's true.
most of his game plans, I
His game
love.
plans are money most of the time.
Like, I love the fact that he seemingly knows how to hire coaches and replace coaches on the coaching staff.
So good.
His relationship with, like, say what you want, Deebo Samuel requested a trade and is still on the 49ers. Like, that
Kyle fix that
everywhere. I love a lot of stuff about Kyle.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's perfect.
Me too. I agree with everything Rob just said. I'm with that. I agree. But I just feel like as a head coach, I mean, you can add the list of all the great things, but if quarterback isn't anywhere on that list, that's a problem.
That's a problem. Today's NFL, with the way the rules are structured and this current state of the game, that is a problem.
Yeah.
Flave says, if you put a high school quarterback out there in practice, would you be able to tell he's not good by NFL standards, or would you need to see him play 40 games? I don't know who you're like. If you're saying Trey Lance is a high school
question. That's a good question. To me, I think a high school quarterback could look good on the field. Not a high school quarterback, but practice and games are different. There's a Brandon Allen could go out and light up OTAs because there's no risk of getting hit. George Kittle talked about it. He said it's real easy to look confident when you know you're not going to get touched. Mm-hmm. So there are guys who can go and light it up in practice, a la Nick Mullins, Brandon Allen, and then when the lights get on, it's too much. The pressure, the emotional pressure, the physical pressure, all of it is too much. And there are certain guys who are gamers to a degree. We don't know what the hell Trey Lance is. We have no idea. But he would be a guy who would be a gamer, I would think. The fact, like, what he could do getting away from actual pass rush, what he could do keeping himself on the field, he should be durable if you didn't use him as a running back. If he didn't have to scramble for his life 18 times a game, he should be durable. That's all I'm saying.
Mike Drops with Mansa says Kyle should be on a rotisserie this season. Not really sure what that means.
I like the visual, though. I can see it.
Tyler Caressley says, when you have too many people in leadership positions, it would not work. You need leaders and when you have too many people in leadership positions, it would not work. You need leaders and a followers in this organization. Well, there is something to be said for too many cooks in the kitchen. And
this is where Jed needs to put his foot down and say, guys, what's the plan? What are we doing?
Ownership
what are we doing?
Because he's the only person more powerful than Kyle in the organization is Jed York. And Jed York, let's be honest, he doesn't care as long as the money keeps coming in. He does not care. If they win a Super Bowl, that'd be great.
Then that's the problem. Then that's the problem.
He's good making the NFC child.
Why is there no coherent plan at quarterback? Because the Yorks haven't demanded one. They could make this. Hey, we're having a meeting tomorrow. John, what's the plan at quarterback? Okay, Kyle, what's your plan at quarterback? Okay, you guys just said two totally different things. We're not going to leave this room until you guys agree on a plan. But I don't think they've had that conversation, and I think they've sort of allowed the Niners to sort of keep changing. And it's like, to me, it's a game of musical chairs that everyone eats up. It's like we could talk about it. We all profit off of it. It's a content gold mine. And it's easier to say, who's better, Trey or Brock, than to have the real conversation with, like, should we really be having this conversation year 7? Is this a ridiculous conversation to be having? But no, hey, let's just entertain it every single year and be who's better. No, Trey sucks. No, Brock sucks. Like, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, George has talked about it. Every year I have quarterback questions in the offseason. 5 straight years. They are
not our fault.
Also.
It's not our fault.
Right.
We didn't ask for this.
Exactly.
This is what Kyle wants. Yeah.
I don't make the content, but I do talk about it. Mike Drop says, a hot seat that's already heating up. Kyle Shanahan is nowhere close to the hot seat. Nowhere close.
Can I just say something? The hot seat doesn't mean you're getting fired. I think it would be good for Kyle to be on the hot seat for a year. I think it would bring the best out of him. And I know he had a real nice run last year, but dude, I think a little, it doesn't even have to be public, but the Yorks should be like, dude, we expect a Super Bowl victory this year. I'm not saying we're going to fire you, but like, I just think he's too comfortable. I think he's one of the most comfortable coaches in the league. And I think Walsh was never that comfortable. I think he had a bunch of pressure from Eddie in the 80s, even after Super Bowl championships. Like, I think you need that. I think Lacob has that kind of pressure on Kerr. I think you need that kind of tension in a championship organization. I don't know that there is it here. And that's not Kyle's fault. It's Jed's fault or his parents. I mean, glad that Chip's not their coach anymore. They're like, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. Like, yeah, okay.
Kyle's won 52 games in the past 4 years with NFC championship games almost every year. Like,
it's good, man, but you still don't have a quarterback, dude.
Great. That's great.
That's great, man. But what's going to happen is this team is going to miss their window if they don't get a quarterback. And then you're going to have to build another team. But you're going to miss it with Trent and Debo and Kittle and Armstead. You're going to miss it. Whose timeline are you on? Their timeline or the 23-year-old Brock Purdy's timeline?
Well, that's a whole other issue, is that there does seem to be two different tracks there.
Yeah.
But you get an elite quarterback, like Joe Burrow said, the Super Bowl window is my whole career. So, that
the Yorks have been searching for that guy for 20-something years, maybe this year.
And it's not easy
Darnold.
to find
Darnold!
Don't do that to me, Grant.
I'm sorry.
Now you're just trying to get me angry.
I am.
I appreciate.
Darnold rules!
Moose says the fan base isn't outraged enough. With little power, they've resorted to fighting.
Doesn't he look like he's in the O'Doyle family? Sam Darnold.
Yeah. You didn't think I was going to save that? When you
he
said
looks
that?
like the kind of guy who would say O'Doyle rules after shooting throwing a touchdown pass.
He does.
Sorry, I cut you off.
With the beard too. Moose says the fan base isn't outraged enough. With little power, they've resorted to fighting among themselves in the face of organizational incompetency and failure. It's just like the current cultural and political situation in the U.S. I mean, organizational.
I agree.
They're not competent organizationally.
I agree.
Again, 52
The
games.
Yorks.
The
Yorks are, though. That's the thing. Everyone remembers Tom Sula and Chip Kelly. So if it's like, oh yeah, let's have high standards and fire Kyle and be like, we're gonna win a Super. Like, no one trusts the Yorks to find the right guy. Are you kidding? No one and that's fair. That's legit because they wouldn't. They freaking wouldn't. We would. Rob and I, quality control extraordinaires would find that guy, but we're not in that position of power, unfortunately.
The only reason the 49ers got Kyle Shanahan, I think you can argue, is because of Tom Sula and because of Chip Kelly, because they were disasters and they were fired. Kyle got to say, here, I want everything. I want all of this stuff. Everything. And you're going to give me a 6-year deal. And if this leaks, I'm out. And
we're going to tank a season so I can wait for Kirk Cousins. And even then he blinked. He blinked at 0-8 at the trade deadline. I thoroughly think he blinked. I think he thought, you know what? If we go 0-16, I might get fired.
I think Kyle is like Bill Walsh in that the losses crush him.
Yep.
There's that picture of him in the locker room where he's leaning up against the little crate and he's like looking down and it's literally like he's looking into the abyss. I think the losses crush
It's
Kyle.
One thing to say, I'll tank this year. It's my first year. I got a 6-year contract. It's another year to actually do it. The whole thing. Yeah.
True. It's hard, man. It's a lot of hours you put in. These people work hard.
Depressing.
Stuff, man.
It's depressing.
Abe says, if Kyle Shanahan's hair was still dark and not gray, I would believe you. I think he feels a lot of pressure. I'm glad he doesn't show it, though. His hair, he's aged like a president. I keep saying it, man.
But where's the pressure coming from? Is it the pressure of, I want to have a legacy, I want to be in the Hall of Fame, I hold myself to that standard, and I'm blowing it? Or is it, man, Jed's on my butt. Man, Dr. York won't give me a break. I don't think it's that. I think it's his own high standards, which he has to his credit.
But sometimes that stuff bugs me because, like, okay, Kyle's on the hot seat now, right? Now, what's he going to say? All right, now I really want to win. Now I'm going to try really hard. Like, he's trying as hard as he can right now, isn't he?
He's messing around. He's doing a quarterback competition. To me, what that says is none of your quarterbacks are going to be fully prepared for week one. None of them. Like, every other team is going to have a quarterback who's had all the reps in the offseason. Not you. You won't have one quarterback who's had all the first-string reps. So, again, like, if you had a little urgency, you wouldn't do that. You'd pick a guy and give you just, I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm picking a guy, making a decision. Kyle's not doing that because there's no one telling him he has to because Jed feels like you. Man, this guy's, I love this guy. I freaking love this guy. Let's give him an extension. No, they haven't done that, though. To their credit, they've only done that once. They haven't done it yet. What they could do is be like, look, man, you got 3 years left on your contract. All right, we're not going to fire you. But that's your window, man. Win a Super Bowl. If you don't, we'll reassess and we might just not give you another contract. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we cross that bridge. But you got 3 years to win a Super Bowl. How about that? That gives you 9 years. 9! Seifert was a coach for 8 and he won 2 Super Bowls. Never won fewer than 10 games in a season, ever.
Yeah.
Got fired after going 12-4.
Slightly different situations there. First of all, he inherited Bill Walsh's team and he inherited a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's
how much mileage is Kyle going to get out of 2017 to 2018, man? That's like 7 years ago. How much mileage is he going to get? He's got his team. He built it. It's great. Tony Dungy built a team in Tampa and he couldn't get it done and they had to switch captains midstream. Eventually, you got to do that. Sometimes you got to do that, Rob.
The problem is not Kyle Shanahan.
The problem is Kyle Shanahan.
Problems. You think Kyle Shanahan is at the top?
the problem, no, the quarterback is at the top. And the reason the quarterback is at the top is because of Kyle.
It's not a totally.
Even though he has a list as long as you could, I mean, super long of positives. We could go through them for a half an hour. Quarterback is nowhere on that list. That's his fault. That's his fault.
At the same time, if you're Kyle Shanahan, you can still say, when my quarterback starts every game, I go to the Super Bowl. The last 2 times it's happened, I've gone to the Super Bowl.
And if I was a jerk and a Kyle Shanahan detractor, I could say, how often does that happen, Kyle? How many times in your 15-year career as a play caller in the NFL have you kept a quarterback healthy for the whole season? How many times? 4? 4 to 15? How many starting quarterbacks have you had in your career? 18, 19? All right, man. Well, eventually you'll show that you can do it like for more than once. It's not a one-off.
But why does, like, when other quarterbacks get hurt, we don't blame their coaches? Only Kyle gets blamed for injuries.
Because it's a pattern. It's a pattern that's been going on for a long time. If it was just one-off, then you'd be like, okay, well, then maybe the common denominator is the player, right? But when it's Jimmy and Brock and Trey and Mullins and RG3 and it's like, prove me wrong, Kyle. Prove me wrong. Like, if it's just all been bad luck for 10 years, I'm ready for your run of good luck to happen right now. For it all to even out. Let's go right now.
I think we all would sign for that. Jason and Steph, excuse me, just did a show yesterday, and they said if you could manifest one thing for the Niners this year beyond a Super Bowl title, what would it be? And they both said health. Just health. They've been in the top 10 most injured teams every year of the Kyle Shanahan regime. They've been top 5 every year except one. I think the first year they were 10. I think they've been higher than that every other year.
Can I say something real quick, though? So let's bring it back to the beginning of the conversation. Talking about bragging about how they will run for 2 yards a pop, same play, knowing it's not going to work, set up something later. Man, football is painful. Running the ball is painful. You're running into 8-man boxes knowing it's not going to work. You're running into brick walls, and you're wondering why your physical brand of football leads to injuries. Like, that kind of I don't know. Like, I'm not in the huddle, but if I were in the huddle and we'd run that play 3 times and gotten 6 yards and he called it a 4th time, I'm thinking, damn, why is he calling this? It hurts. They're smacking us. No? I don't know. I played baseball growing up. I don't know. You tell me.
But they also know that the 70-yard touchdown is coming. And that kind of goes back.
Well, that's what Kyle has to tell him to keep him from being like, oh my God, this play again. This freaking play. Yeah, you're right. He has to say that.
You need to have that buy-in. That's why you have to do it, because of all that stuff you just said. Because
that's why Kyle shows that one play from 8 years ago 70 times a year. I feel you, man. I get it.
Over and over and over again.
And his players buy in to his credit. They do.
Yes,
they do. They do.
Everybody, please like and subscribe to both YouTube channels, the Gold Standard YouTube channel, as well as Grant's. I know most people are here on Grant's channel because you're, a YouTube mogul. I think you've reached mogul status at this point.
I just got here first. That's the only. I was here in 2020.
Yeah.
Gold Rush, baby. I was. What was it? Never mind. That's 4th grade.
Okay.
Who's the guy who found the gold? I found the gold. That's the guy.
Was it there was one dude and then everybody followed?
No, it was Ronbo. Ronbo was there first.